his cheeks. My poor father, he was too mild and soft for his role in life. The peasants on our land used to laugh at him behind his back. Our neighbours robbed him and ravaged our borders and had no proper fear. A baron must be a wolf. My father was a sheep. But I loved him. I also wept on parting. There was no shame in it, and I was secretly afraid of being killed. My sister, as always, was full of advice. "Be sensible, you big loon," she whispered as we hugged. "Don't try to be a hero. Show yourself to be a good knight, but not a rash one. Follow orders. Fight when you must. Use your brains as well as your sword arm." She rapped her knuckles on my scalp. "You do have a brain, I think, somewhere inside that thick bone casket. Come back safe and sound, and perhaps one day you'll win a game of chess." I grinned. Small chance of that. Elvira was a master at chess, a game I had little patience for and less skill. In time, my game improved, and I fancy I could beat her now. If only she were here to test it. Poor woman. As I rode away with my little company, I halted on a crest and turned back to take one last look at my father's castle. The home of my youth, the only world I had ever known. Fresh tears stung my eyes. The castle of the Falcon was a small enough place, an old Moorish stronghold, sat atop a large rock in a vast landscape of sloping meadows and scrubby green woodland. A range of dark hills dominated the far horizon. Beyond lay the faintest glimmer of the sea. At the western end of the outcrop stood the entrance tower, a square lump of mellowed red sandstone. This was connected by a timber rampart to the keep at the eastern end. My grandsire had built the keep, a big D-shaped tower with splendid views of the countryside. He was a holy terror, so they tell me, a man of blood and iron who slew every Moor he found and hung their bodies from the walls of his new castle. My family banner, the golden falcon with wings outspread against a dark green field, fluttered from the battlements. There was a stiff breeze, and the wings of the bird seemed to snap and ripple in the wind. I could see the white faces of my father and sister on the rampart, their arms raised to wave me farewell. I raised my lance in salute. The tears flowed openly down my cheeks. A great sadness was upon me. It was heavy, like a weight pressing down on my neck. "Courage, master," said a voice I knew all too well. "You shall see them again. Old César will keep you safe." I dashed the tears from my face and glanced sourly at the villain. "That may depend," I retorted, "if old César can stay sober for longer than one day at a time. While I am fighting the enemies of Christ, you will be lying dead drunk in a brothel somewhere, or the gutter, your natural home." He snickered and made the sign of the cross on his chest. God must have been in a merciful mood that day, else César would have burst into flames. "Never fear, master," he said with a nod of his ugly head. "Remember the blood debt I owe to your family. I am your man now as I was your father's, to the death." "Christ have mercy," I said, giving my reins a shake. "So you will trail about after me now, yelping for scraps. You are the family curse, César." This old rogue was one of my 4 companions. César served as cook, serventes and squire rolled into one, a greasy peasant with a foul tongue and shrewd, rat-like little eyes. He never looked at you direct, would César, always over your shoulder or at the ground. I believe he was terrified of anyone seeing into his cankered soul. As if anyone would wish to. Such men are welcome to their secrets. I was glad of his company, even if I pretended otherwise. César was devoted to my family and always did his best to help me. He was born into beggary in Valencia, the son of a prostitute, and would have died in the gutter if my father hadn't spotted him naked and shivering in the streets. In his kindness, or folly, some might say, he took the dirty, starving boy into his service as a turnspit. Over the years he rose to become a falconer, as well as first-class whoremonger.